What's going on, pre-Chiro students? It's Dr. Ben again with another meaningful conversation to help demystify the path of what it takes to become a chiropractor if you so choose. Today I have a friend of mine, Dr. Ross Cloud Hall, out in New Mexico, Santa Fe. Dr. Cloud, can you just introduce yourself and share what that moment was when you decided you wanted to become a chiropractor and what it was that attracted you to becoming a chiropractor?
Yeah, of course. Hello. Well, it's kind of an interesting process just because it's been so long that I feel like I've started the like healing arts process, and I really feel like if I trace it back, that's the beginning of the whole journey. And I became a massage therapist um, in mid 2000s, but really I had started my journey in Thailand. I went to this massage school. It was like this one-on-one download from this guy, and we did 5 days one-on-one, and he just like downloaded this whole Thai massage technique, and that just like blew my mind. I
How
wasn't
old were you at
licensed.
that time? Were you in high school or
Yeah, I think I was like 20, 21, 20. So, and I had always kind of been like grossed out about massage. I'd always had this like idea of like oil and lotion. I've never,
Mhm.
and I haven't really, I don't know. I didn't really get that something like that could be called massage. And so like, Thai massage is like fully moving the body. You're doing like, it's closed, and you're doing kind of manipulation without like cavitation, and so um and I just remember after like 2 days of that, walking back to the place I was staying and just feeling like my whole consciousness had been shifted. And you know I just was in a meditative state. It was like every footstep I was like more aware of. I was, the colors were more vivid, the smells were more vivid, like every thing in my surroundings just was popping, and it was cool. So I was kind of hooked, and it was that piece, I think, that has really kept me inspired and interested this whole time. And so then started trading with people, doing family and friends, started trading with the acupuncturist. She said, you gotta do this. You're gonna, you gotta go to massage school. So I went to massage school like 2 years later, and got into working at a PT clinic, saw that whole PT world. There were some things that turned me off about it a little bit. I mean, it felt like a mill a little bit. It's like you're just cranking and doing insurance, and it just felt like it was great, and I got my hands on a lot of people, but it just didn't have that same spark of that like shift in consciousness that I really was inspired by in the beginning.
Mhm.
And so I got into private practice and doing more like cranial sacral type work, and that really was like uh, if you're talking about like shifting consciousness, the cranial sacral work was huge, as far as like, getting off the table, and the following hours and days after some deep cranial work, you can feel like you just arrived in your body and settled into like a deeper state of being. And so that was really inspiring for me. And then I went and I did a 10-day Vipassana for my first time. And during the sit, I like came up against some really big obstacles just to be able to sit vertically. And later, once I got to chiropractic school, I found out that I had like multiple compression fractures in my T spine. And so, but in order for me just to like sit in a moderately comfortable position, I had to fully like self adjust my back. And so, and I'd never done that before. And so, um, it was probably like pretty sloppy and like ridiculous. And I tell people not to adjust their own back all the time, but
Mhm.
um, something happened, and I spent like over 100 hours meditating on like being in a vertical position, and I really felt like it was a huge aspect of the results I got from that sit was actually freeing up my spine and sitting vertically and just like connecting with that vertical channel. Um, and that just set the stage to like, okay, there's the spine is where it's at. And
Mm.
um, I want to look into this.
Mm.
Um,
How did you
and then
discover though that chiropractic was even related to the spine, and that chiropractic was maybe that next step? It sounds like you had the foundation of massage, meditation, being in your body, being aware of your body, and what was it? What was that pivot point that you said, okay, chiropractic? Was it at that at that Vipassana sit, or was it when you went back home? What was the
you know, honestly, Ben, there was some like deeply painful chaos in my life that happened, and I wish it was like all clear and like I was like love at first sight kind of thing, but it was like almost the opposite. Um, it was I had like I was in a 7 year long relationship raising another woman's kid, and it all fell apart at like 29, 30. And it was like she essentially like moved away, and like I just like lost this child that I'd raised for 7 years, and and was just looking at my life and just like some of the things that relationship had prevented me from doing was investing in myself. And um and it was like the deepest sense of emptiness I've ever felt, and like a part of me died essentially, I feel like. And I just knew I was ready for something big, the new next big chapter. And I was just like looking, and I did the whole thing. I looked at I looked at PA, I looked at PT, I looked at nurse practitioner, I looked at, I knew I liked helping people. I knew I liked connecting. I knew I like serving the human spirit and body. And um, I just, I did I did a couple, I shadowed my best friend is a PA, and I really respect him, and we have awesome conversations. And um, I shadowed him on a shift, and it was just like a lot of like waiting around, and then like people would come in, and it was like, okay, go take this thing, or I don't know, or go to the ER, or and then like and then there's like we had this I don't know if this had anything to do it, but we had this when we come in, and she had this like abscess on her ass. And like I had to help like drain this perirectal abscess. And I just like, I don't know, it just was, I was didn't really turn me on. And I'm sure that woman was really helped, but it just, you know some people are designed for some things and some people aren't. And I just didn't really feel like I wanted to spend my life in the medical environment. I think that was the biggest deal. Like I didn't like the spending my life under halogen lighting and in a sterile environment, and it just didn't light me up. And that's kind of like back to the consciousness thing. It didn't feel like that's what I was working with. It felt like I was working, I would be working with emergency type situations, which are highly critical, but not necessarily how I want to spend my life.
So let's shift into chiropractic school. What were some surprises or challenges? What did you attract? What did you gravitate towards? What were some of the pathways that you followed down the rabbit hole? What were some of the influences that you had in chiropractic school?
So I hadn't really had my like come to Jesus moment with chiropractic or like my, oh my God, this is amazing. I just knew I wanted to learn more about the spine, and I knew I wanted to get a deeper sense of more skills and jump into a bigger pool. And it wasn't until like my second or third quarter that I really found the person that I admired, and I actually interviewed him on this, Eric Rubin. And I actually had I questioned really deep, like after my first and second quarter, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. This I don't know if this is worth it. Like, um, this feels like just so much work and so much money and so much investment, and I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna be like a glorified massage therapist, or like I'm gonna be doing kind of the same thing because I'd already been in private practice. I'd already been having my hands on people. I'd already been doing that, and it just I just kind of freaked out. I was like, wow, like this is a heavy duty investment. And like, it was really stressful for me to like move to the Bay from a small town. Um, and so I actually dropped out. And as I was dropping out, the Eric Rubin asked me to come mentor with him, or be the TA in his cranial sacral course in San Francisco. And I started coming in for care more frequently at his place and just seeing the energy and yeah, just the what he had created, at his practice, and just like the community that he had created, and just like how powerful, just like walking off North Point Street, coming in through that little valley, you feel the energy shift like before you're even in the door. You're just like, okay, something special happens here, and it's having ripple effects throughout a larger community. And that was definitely inspiring. So I hopped back in, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna just stick it out and do it.
Would you say that the practice that you have today is similar to the practice that he had in certain ways, in certain aspects? And if so, how can you draw the common thread for people?
I mean, maybe there's like a tonal like similarity, but like he's just seeing so many more people than I am, and like he's teaching. I'm also, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old that, my 2-year-old was born essentially when I moved into this practice. So when I really actually started my practice, and I built this building out to start my practice. So it's been a journey, and yeah, I would say maybe there's definitely like a heavy duty influence, and I aspire to maybe be more like him, his practice. But I would say that I think I incorporate a little bit more one-on-one, like visualization stuff and more like guided meditation stuff with my people. Because that's kind of what I'm, from the beginning, what's lit me up. So like, you know, and all the anatomy stuff is really starting to like, the more I do that, the anatomy is really starting to come and be more useful as I like guide people's awareness through like really intricate parts of their anatomy and their neurology. And that part is really fun for me. So I do some open adjusting format where I have multiple tables, but since coronavirus thing, I've been more one-on-one sessions, and so it's constantly evolving and it's constantly shifting, and yeah, I see coming back into the open adjusting relatively soon, but always kind of having a combination of private and open sessions available.
So could you maybe give a little bit of guidance or a little bit of insight into, you know, given the type of path you've personally taken, what are some recommendations that you could maybe give to that first quarter student or that student that's about to enter into chiropractic school, um, to maybe point them in a couple of different directions that could help them?
Well, it seems like everyone's coming from a completely different place. So like if I were to give myself advice, the person who was questioning the whole process really hard and had some hesitancy and some reservations about the whole investment. I would just encourage them to, like, if you're going to do something, do it full on, like just jump in and give it your all until you're 100% sure that it's not for you, or, and, jump into technique early and get your hands on bodies. I've often thought that, I think it'd be kind of cool if massage therapy was a prereq for chiropractic school, just because it just, one of the things that turned me off was just like the quality of touch that they were teaching was just so low, and like, there was so disconnected, especially coming from the quality of touch that I learned in cranial sacral and massage and Thai massage, and make sure that your mentors are like have a quality of touch and quality of presence that's honoring from the minute that they come into contact with whoever they're treating, or anyone really. But this, yeah, and that's where I'm coming from. It's not a mechanic's office, or I'm not a mechanic where I'm just like banging on a machine with a hammer. It's about eliciting a shift in consciousness through touch and through connection, and the body heals when that happens. So
Would you say craniosacral specifically relates to chiropractic? And if so, how can a deeper understanding of that system help a chiropractic student or a new chiropractor better work with the spine, work with the mind, work with the consciousness of the person on their table?
Yeah. Well, the reason why, one of the big reasons adjusting the spine is so powerful is because the spinal cord is inside of it, right? But one of the reasons working with the cranium is so powerful is because the other massive end of the central nervous system is inside of it. When I'm doing cranial sacral, I'm guiding people through areas of their brain, and bringing awareness to their motor cortex and their, pituitary and their, cerebellum. It's like bringing people in, and like, awareness can, just moving your awareness can light up areas of your body and turn things on. And especially when you get a practitioner's awareness and your awareness both at the same time, going into detailed parts of your anatomy and with physical force, um, that's powerful stuff,
Hmm. I think you call your practice midline. Can you speak to the sacred midline, how you contextualize what it is that you're offering to somebody when they come into your practice? Just because these prospective students are listening to you right now, and really just think of them as like a new practice member or somebody that you're introducing to your way of seeing the body, your way of working with the body. How do you kind of set the stage, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So my practice is called Midline Chiropractic, and I actually had one of the, even considered the Sacred Midline as the name, but I toned it down a little bit. And the majority of people come in, with a complaint, with a physical complaint of, you know, this hurts, or I'm not quite right, or there's a few people that come in with, I'm looking for a wellness practitioner, and like I had a chiropractor at this other place, usually, and they kind of get that, but what I've been doing recently with people on the initial visit is having them, just having them sit down and be like, okay, so like what, you know, I want you to imagine yourself at like an optimal health state of optimal health, and I'll even have them close their eyes and look inward, and ask them like if anything comes up for them, or any image comes up for them, um, and then what that feels like as far as sensations in their body, and just kind of guide them through like, yeah, what does it feel like to have optimal health in your pelvis, in your gut, in your um, you know, and sometimes people have like an image, and then I like, okay, if you're in that image, what does that feel like in your thoracic cage, in your heart, in your, and kind of guide them up. And sometimes just without them knowing it, I kind of like just guide them up through some of the chakral ascension stuff. And then, I've had 2 out of the 3 people I've done that with have broken down into tears, just like realizing what they've been missing, and that like almost, what one woman said was like, I've been afraid to like inhabit my body, and I feel like I'm not even in the world, and that just like that, almost like FOMA of like missing your life,
Hmm.
So that's been pretty powerful, and and this is before I've even laid my hands on them, and they're having like these intense like realizations about that they aren't even fucking in their bodies. Like they're not even like, I'm not even in the world, you know? And
Hmm.
you're like, yeah, like, are you sure, you want to come back? Like it's not, and then when I have a conversation with them about like, yes, I am stoked if your neck and back pain go away, but like really it's this I want to turn on. I want to bring you back into the world, and then it's like, that after I have that guidance of, of them actually experiencing being back in the world for just a couple of minutes, when I say that, it hits home a little bit more than if I'm just like some, some guy, oh, and I would give you a spiritual experience. It's like,
Hmm.
um, and sometimes getting rid of neck pain and back pain is a spiritual experience, and um, so both the physical realm allows the spiritual to flow through, and both turning on this, the energetic piece and the consciousness piece allows the physical realm to fall into line. So kind of coming at it from,
So as someone who really was doubting the worth of the investment or the value of the education, um, looking at right now where you're at with things, can you reflect back and honestly say you made the right choice to follow through with this? Or um, could you look at it and say,
yeah, there's nothing I would rather be doing. Yeah, I'm extremely grateful that I stuck it out, and I'm extremely grateful for the support that I had. And I love I love practicing. Like I love my, you know, I love my patients. I love coming into work. I love being in my space that I've created. Um, and yeah, I just can't really imagine anything I'd rather be doing as far as a profession, or, even if at this point, it's like, even if I wasn't getting paid, I just like, I don't, I think I love it, you
mhm,
know, I love what I do,
mhm,
and
mhm.
I want to go even deeper, and I want to, yeah, so, very grateful.
I appreciate you showing the depth of what it could be like to be a chiropractor in the real world, and also just the challenges and struggles that you had internally, because I think that that's a really common thing for everybody. If it's not the financial piece, it's probably the academic piece, or it's the disconnection from friends and family when you're in this little bubble. But regardless, if you can make it through, and if you can find yourself and find the ease in the process, I think that you can end up in a place like you're at right now, where you're just happy you've created something that you're proud of, that you get excited to play a part and a role in other people's lives in the way that you do. And
Yeah,
that's what I really just want people to know, that that opportunity is there and available to them. And just to represent the authenticity in your message is really just, you know this is who I am, this is what I went through, this is what I get to do with people, this is what I get to share.
hmm,
And yeah, I appreciate the message. If there's anything that people want to do to kind of reach out and connect with you more, I'm sure that we'll post a link to connect. And
yeah, yeah, always open,
mhm.
and really appreciative of you, Ben. Thanks for doing what you're doing. If I had come into contact with some of this content, I think that would have been really helpful for me. Um, I didn't, I was kind of lost in the beginning of chiropractic school, and maybe that was really a really big part of the transformation that needed to happen. Maybe that there wasn't a need for that struggle and that lostness and that death that I was spoke of, to create the space for something bigger. And so maybe that's something that I would say to a new Chiro student, is just like, if there's points where you feel lost, or like it feels like too much, or just, um, just the struggle is so intense, then know that that doesn't mean that you're on the wrong path, that it's part of the fire that's like cooking you and curing the solid parts that are there to last.
Mhm. And then really quickly, you have a passion for climbing. How has climbing helped you in your process of becoming a chiropractor? Because I know that you pretty much have climbed throughout the process, or you keep coming back to climbing. How can you parallel being a chiropractor and climbing?
Well, I think again, what attracted me to climbing was like that shift in consciousness that I would feel as soon as I left the ground, and where all of a sudden, like, every crystal and texture of the rock is like you're aware of on your fingertips, and like, totally in the present moment. And then that intense physical aspect as well. Um, and yeah, it was actually one of the hardest things about chiropractic school is not being able to climb. And in a way, chiropractic has kind of transitioned to be my new practice of not replacing climbing, because I still climb a little bit, but there was a time where I was like, just living out of my truck and climbing, and I just I spent like multiple months just living in these canyons and just climbing and resting and climbing and resting and climbing and resting. And I think that in a way, like, that was, you know, laid the physical foundation for me to have the physical strength and physical fitness to be in a physical practice like chiropractic. And now I'm using that, my body, to in service, so I was investing in my body in the, fitness in the sense of like fit to live, and fit mind to now use that vessel to serve. And then it's still there for me. And it's my love. I just like love climbing and the places that it's taken me. So um, it's it's not like a direct, um, it's more like an indirect contribution. But yeah.
Mhm.